Hi, welcome to another episode of My Healthy Story. My name is Mandy Palmer. I'm a holistic certified health coach, and the goal of My Healthy Story is to share healing stories that people have experienced with their health. And today I'm here with Eva Gosssenreiter, an interior designer and kinesiologist meaning muscle testing. Eva is in Austria. So Eva, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Mandy. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
So please share a little bit about yourself.
So as you introduced me, I'm an interior designer. I love to decorate rooms. I've had a passion for this from when I was very little. And I love surrounding myself with beautiful interiors, with beautiful exteriors. I love to be in nature as well. And so this is what I do when I'm working usually. Because of what I've gone through over the past years, I would say 2 years, about 2 years, I've also started to train as a kinesiologist in applied kinesiology. And that has really helped me to have a better life at the moment. And I really enjoy working with others to facilitate their own journey, to help them with whatever they need. And I just love take people through the experience of figuring out what their own body says, instead of telling them, so this is, as an expert, my opinion about what your condition is.
So share with us, what were your top 3 health challenges? What were you experiencing when you realized that you needed something like this in your life?
So for me, I wasn't sick in my own words. I just experienced a very low state, very low level of energy for a very long time. And I couldn't say exactly what that started, but I know that over a longer period of time, I just felt constantly tired and I needed more and more hours of sleep. And then after a while, I got from being exhausted. I was really exhausted from being exhausted, and I just got really tired, and I had just had a really low energy level. And so the problem with that was that I needed 10 or more hours of sleep every single night. And if I didn't get that, I was so tired the next morning. And I really had an awful day because I was just completely drained of energy. And that also then resulted in a lot of things. Like, for example, in my day job as an interior designer, it was really difficult for me because other people expected me to do my work and to do it well and to be alert and be on time and deliver whatever it is I needed to deliver. But it was really difficult for me to meet that expectation. And really, when I came home, all I could do in the evening was to lie down flat on the sofa and watch TV. That was like the most that I could do. And one of the other things was that because I got weaker and weaker and weaker, my immune system got weaker, which meant I would pick up any cold or any flu or anything, like literally right away. And then it would take me a lot longer to go through that, like where somebody else was sick for 3 days or for a week. I was sick for 6 days or for 2 weeks. And then after that, it took me another week or 2 to recover from that. And because I was so weak, I never got around to doing any sports. I'm an outdoorsy person. I love rock climbing, and I used to be a ski instructor. I was super fit, but then because my energy went lower and lower and lower, and when I did do some sports, it cost me so much time to recover. I would go rock climbing once, and then I would be home with sore muscles for like 2 weeks, like literally 2 weeks. Or I would sign up for a yoga class or Pilates class, and then I'd be home for an entire week being really exhausted from that class. And because one led to another, this is kind of a spiral. And I just thought, well, I have the flu, so now I need to lie down. And then, well, it just takes another couple of days. And then I did go to the gym, and then I was sick or tired for another week or 2. And then until I could regain that energy to do one other thing again, it was just not working for me. And it was really difficult for me to see that this is a permanent condition. It's not something that's going to go away. So it's a really even right now, and I'm not an expert in medical things, but even right now, I would say it's a really funny thing to even say it's a condition or it's a thing to have. It was just really low energy, and then all the factors that were connected to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in the US, you probably, if you went to a conventional doctor, they probably likely would have diagnosed you with chronic fatigue syndrome, which is really, in the US, I mean, when they say that, it's just a diagnosis based off of a collection of symptoms.
Now, this is the thing. I know somebody with chronic fatigue syndrome, and I know that person, and I've known her for a long time, and she has a totally different thing than I had, because she was actually really tired. I had just this, and she was sleeping, literally sleeping. I was just this low energy, so I don't think it's actually fatigue that I had. It was just really low energy.
I see. And if you could, on a scale of 1 to 10, rate it at its worst, how would you rate it?
So it's a bit difficult for me, because when I did have some energy, I felt really good. But then I was drained so quickly that in retrospect, I would say, like, the worst I've ever felt would probably be 0. And then usually I would go and be at a state somewhere between 2 and 4. I would never really go above 4, and I would never really go below 2. But this is the range that I kind of was at, not knowingly though. So I always thought I felt a lot better, but in retrospect, I know that I just didn't connect to a better feeling state at that time anymore.
So when did you realize that you had to try something, that you had to look into doing something for your health?
So this is actually a story. So I'm very intuitive with what I do. And this is actually a very funny story, because for some reason I knew I wanted to do something different than I had done before. And so I signed up for a kinesiology class. I just went on the internet, and I had never heard of kinesiology before. And I did see once a kinesiologist. And because I was so happy with that, I went right after the session with her. I went online and I Googled for a class, and I found one. And it was it actually started the next morning by coincidence. And I signed up, and I had to run for the bus because I was a little late and whatever. So I had to run for the bus, and it was literally 200 meters, which is like, I don't know how many yards or whatever are this. It's not far. It's like up and down a football field or something like this. And you see, I still considered myself being a fit and sportive person, because I've always been that. Mm-hmm. But I had, like, I felt absolute exhaustion. It was like I would weigh a ton of, like, I felt like a rock rather than a person. And I had like heavy breathing, and I couldn't couldn't breathe anymore. I felt pain in my chest, and I could feel that my entire circulation would shut down, and it was hard for me to see. I got dizzy, I got sick. And this was from like 200 meters of sprinting for the bus. And I wasn't even fast. I mean, I could see myself running really slow. It's not that I actually sprinted, but it was the fastest I could go. And when I finally got to the bus and sat down, I really thought, okay, I need to figure something out. This cannot go on. So that was my moment when I knew, okay, I have to do something.
Right, that's not really a normal reaction to having to run just 200 meters. Yeah, I totally get that. And so for those that aren't familiar with kinesiology or muscle testing, can you describe what it is?
So basically, in kinesiology, the idea is that when you have something that is good for the body, that strengthens the body, that you get a strong muscle response. And you can use any muscle in the body. A lot of times people use so I'll use that arm. People use the arm, and then one person would press down on the other person's arm. And depending on whether the reaction is strong or weak, you would say one thing is good for the person or one thing is not favorable for the person, or it weakens the person. So if you can even try this out at home, if you have somebody around, and it can even be a child, it doesn't need to be another adult who's really knowing what they're doing, just to try this out. So you can stretch out your arm, and then you can do this with different things. You can just see how strong one is, and you don't need to press down with a lot of weight. You can just press down with always the same amount of weight. And then you can, for example, have a cup of coffee in your hand, and you can see if this makes your muscle stronger than it used to be when you didn't have the cup of coffee in your hand, or if it makes it weaker. Or you can try it with cigarettes, you can try it with sweets, you can try it with broccoli or Brussels sprouts or whatever it is. And you'd be surprised sometimes by the result, because there are things that are just not good for everybody. And this is the beauty of the muscle testing. What we measure, when we test the muscle, is the muscle response to a certain thing. And the muscles, within the muscles, you have the tiny little cells, and in each one of your cells there is a lot of information that is, some of that information is even not accessible by our logical brain. So there is a lot of subconscious things going on in your body, but your body knows what's best for you. And it could be that coffee is good for you today, but it's not good for you tomorrow, because you've had already 3 cups today, for example.
Right. It can change day to day. That makes sense.
It can. And with the muscle testing, you can also work on stress related symptoms, because your body knows, okay, this is good for me and this is too much for me, or something is helping me right now to gain strength, or something is weakening me right now for my entire system. And this is how you can also use it in different modalities, where you say you would like to be more successful in sports, for example. You can also find out what would help you to do that, or where you would need to release stress. And then there's a lot of different ways to correct things in your body that are very like exercises that are very typical to kinesiology. So with the muscle testing, we could find out we need to strengthen a certain meridian, like there's the meridian system in the body, or we could find out that there's we should address a certain chakra. There is a lot of different things that you could do, and there is a lot of different, because all the memories that you have, including all the trauma and all the bad things that ever happened to you, is stored in your body, in your muscles, in your cells. This is a perfect way to release that. So if you have any kind of trouble, and this sounds vaguely interesting to you, and you have some kind of an issue, then go see a kinesiologist somewhere near you, and just have a session and see if you enjoy that and if it helps you. It's for a lot of people, it's very eye-opening.
Thank you. That was a really great explanation. I've seen a couple of various practitioners here, such as chiropractors, that use this as a diagnostic tool. And like you said, it can really be used in a very wide variety of ways. And so you decided to take this class. And so how did it help you?
So for me,
what did you learn about yourself?
So for me, the thing was twofold. So one that I learned was that I am very intuitive in picking this up, and that I immediately caught what they were talking about. And a lot of the things that I had done since childhood, that they have a name, that there is something what needs to be done. So basically, I realized that, well, I always knew that I was kind of doing some energy work, but I never knew exactly what I was doing. But now suddenly there was a system to it. It had a name, and that also helped me to then develop this into something that I could help others with. Because the classes that I signed up for, they were actually professional classes, and I just attended the first one to figure something out, and then it turns out that it not only helped me as a person so much, but also I could help others so much. And so this was the one thing that got out of that class for me. And the other thing was, I learned that with my logical brain, I can sometimes not know all that there is to know about what is good for my body and what's not good for my body. And the other thing that I learned is that my body is the expert on me. A lot of times it's so much better to muscle test than to just go to an expert and have them find out what diagnosis it is, which medication to take. And now I love good doctors. There are a couple of really good ones that are doing a great job. But for example, I had a pharmacist who works in a pharmacy nearby, and she tested on all the medication that I got from my doctor. And there were a couple of things that my body just responded to, no, I don't need it. Other things, she just intuitively pulled things out of her shelves, and we tested like buckets and baskets of things. And we figured out that, for example, even though my doctor thought I should take some vitamins, that the vitamins or magnesium, that my body couldn't use that. And instead, something that nobody had thought about would help my body. And then I took that, and it was some natural remedy. And then after that was finished, I went there again, and she found something else that could be added in on top of that, which was something that wasn't indicated before. So with the kinesiology, I really found out that I could trust my own body. And also I found a system of how I can address energetically in my body almost any problem, because our entire energy system consists out of this meridian system, which is really just the information highway of energy within your body. And I'm sure most of the people who would be watching this have heard of acupuncture points or acupressure points. Those acupressure points, they are along the meridians. And so with this system that I learned, and with the entire thing that I learned about kinesiology and about the body, I figured out that if I use the muscle test on myself, so I do muscle tests like this or sometimes like that. So it's basically just you use two fingers and interlock them. It's the thumb and the smallest finger, and I interlock them. That I can muscle test like this on my own when I don't have anybody else. And I basically started to use this every morning, and it's a little bit like a self-coaching tool. So what is good for me today? Is it this? Is it that? I used it in conjunction to coaching tools that I already knew when I started this. And the other thing that I did is I found out, so okay, what's the meridian I need to strengthen today? And how do I need to do that? And then I tested through lists of things of how I could do this. And I found, because every meridian is connected to something, it's also connected to a mental state and to certain organs in the body. I could feel this. I would then tap those points or massage them or hold them or wherever. I mean, they're everywhere in the body. And through that, I could feel that the stress would just fade away. When I had something that was stressful on that day or a person, I could just do the muscle testing myself and find out what it is, and then use my own method to help me shift my energy from where I was to more centered.
I see. I was going to ask you how it helped your energy, and now I see you just tapped into the meridians of your body. You asked what it needed, and addressing that way, it helped your energy.
Exactly. So basically, the idea of kinesiology is that when our energetic system and our body is in balance, when we're centered, when we're focused, when we're in balance, then we're healthy. And when there's some kind of stress attached to something, then there's something that's out of balance. So for example, if you have a person in your life and you're relaxed, but when you see them or when you even think of that person, you kind of feel your muscles go tense, or your breath go very shallow, or you feel that you're clenching or something like this. This is a reaction of stress in your body. But when you disassociate the stress in your body with that person, for example, which is something that, for example, tapping points can help you, or other kinesiological exercises, then you start to have less stress in your body overall, because it's not that every time you see that person, your body has this stress reaction. And then you're the expert, I'm sure, in hormones, because whenever you have stress, then the body releases these hormones. And basically our body is this large chemistry factory, but then it also needs to get rid of those hormones again, and that takes a lot of energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so on a scale of 1 to 10 again, how would you rate, well, just like you did before with the 0 and 2 to 4, how would you rate how your energy levels are now that you have this tool?
I would say I'm somewhere between 7 and 10. Yes, sometimes I feel tired, but usually this is when I'm having a bad day or something. Sometimes I don't sleep well for whatever reason. It happens very irregularly, but for example, this morning I just didn't sleep well. I think it is because it's really hot here. We have a heat wave, and there was a lot of sound outside tonight, which is there's normally no noise, but I just didn't sleep well. I woke up this morning, and I would personally say I felt like I was a 7, and I thought, I'm muscle testing, and I found out some exercises that would help me, that would help just balance out my meridians. And right after that, I would say I felt a 9 or maybe an 8, somewhere between 8 and 9. And then I went out and did my things. And so usually I would probably be between a 9 and a 10. I'm having so much fun doing sports again. I went to a Pilates class yesterday, and I was actually feeling that I'm strong. And this is something that I'm super happy and super excited about. I do think that I can now appreciate being strong, feeling strong from the inside, and being alert and being happy, that I can appreciate that a lot more.
I can totally relate to that. I know the feelings that you're talking about. I know the feeling of being strong and feeling strong in your body. And I've dealt with my fair share of fatigue also. And it can be deep for people. And so many people experience fatigue nowadays and low energy. And so, what do you have to say to people going through this very low energy?
Okay, so my one thing that I would love to, if I could reach everybody and if I could tell them one thing, it would be, this is a thing. It is not that, like when you feel down one day, okay, maybe it's not a thing. But if this stays, this condition, and it takes longer than a week, and there is not a clear reason for it, which is like you're building your own house and you're working 10 hours a day shoveling sand or something like this, it's not a normal condition. And so many people, like right now, if we're tired, we sit down and watch TV, or we Google things, or sit in front of the internet or whatever, or we just stop going outside, we stop meeting with our friends, we stop doing the things that we actually like to do. And I think this is a global problem, that we are all so exhausted from all the things that are happening, but this is not normal. So the one thing I would really say is that if you think you may have low energy, you probably have low energy, and then figure something out what you can do. I personally would suggest go see a doctor, go see a good doctor. I had a very helpful doctor, and obviously she only ever addressed the medical condition that was that was related to this at that very thing. But then at some point she realized that I needed some vitamins, and she really helped me with that. And then also the pharmacist over here, pharmacists, they were allowed to do a lot of things that I think in other countries they're not allowed to do. So go and see a good doctor and talk to them and talk about the things that you're experiencing and that you're not satisfied with what's happening. So that's the number one thing that I would like to tell everybody. And then also the other thing is, I think that a lot of people are scared that they need to, I think they intuitively know that they should do some changes. Like I think they know I should lose some weight, or I should do more sports, or I should work less, I should really do something about my partner because what we're having right now is not working, I should move. And I think a lot of people are scared about that because it means big change. And the one thing I want to say to that is, I think you can totally get away without quitting your job today or filing for divorce. I think maybe if you just regain a little bit of your energy and change like one thing, maybe you just eat for one meal more fruit than other things or more vegetables. Or maybe if you just go for a walk every day for 20 minutes, and you know, if you just do this one thing and it gets you just a tiny little bit better, from there you will have a different perspective, and then you can always take it from there. You can increase it, you can stay where you are, but there are just tiny little things. And even if it's just to cut out the sugar in your diet, if there's nothing else you do, or to go to bed and half an hour earlier, it's just like this one thing, but do it on a permanent basis, like continue doing it every single day.
Well, you just gave a perfect health coach speech. That is something that I was taught to share with people, is that, you know, people intuitively sometimes know what they need to do for themselves. You know, it's that little voice in their head that's telling them, okay, I know that this is what it is. I know that if I could do this better, and then acting on it, but not being overwhelmed with making such a big change, but taking one little step towards whatever it is. And those little steps every day, they grow into big change over time. So that was perfectly put. Do you have a source that you like that people could go to learn more about kinesiology and muscle testing?
So because I was so happy with what I can do and what I can do for others, I've actually started, and I haven't even told you that yet, but I've put together a very basic kinesiology course, which shows you how to muscle test on yourself. It shows you how you can use tapping points to increase your energy, because tapping points are all on different meridians. And it's a very simple way, I've broken down all the pieces to very small pieces where you can learn how to muscle test on your own, like at home, even if you don't have anybody that you would like to share your stuff with, or even if you just don't have anybody because you don't have anybody to do this work with, that you can use. And it's a way, it's designed to, like, the name that I call that course magnetic. The reason why I call it like this is because you will see that you're getting more magnetic to things that you like, so you will attract them in your life, and you will also see that there are things that you find attractive and that you would like to go for. Like you would maybe you find something that you like, but you're actually really attracted to that. So that's why I call it this way. And it's something that is it's not a huge thing. It's a small framework, but it is something that you can do every day. It's something that you can take a thing through. Like if you desire to have better health, for example, you can go through that course, and it will help you to just figure out small things that you can do, and also to release possible sabotage mechanisms. Like there is a lot of self-sabotaging. Like you keep eating chocolate even though you know chocolate is not good for you. And I'm sure most of us have been there. But then what's the reason behind why you're doing it? Maybe there is a subconscious belief there or something. And this is something that's addressed in this course as well. And it's something that I would so love to share with the entire world. I haven't finished the translation to English yet, but I keep my fingers crossed that I will have this ready soon, and it's then going to be on sale on my website. It is not going to be ridiculously expensive because it's something that I would like to be accessible for everybody. And Mandy, if this is something that you would like to know more about, I'm happy to share. But basically, it's just something that everybody can use, like literally at home, and they can use it every day. And just take 5 minutes or 10 minutes and do the muscle testing, do the tapping, and it makes so much of a difference. I really created this because so many people that I don't have physical access to, like I have a lot of friends that are not here in Austria and that can't come see me. And so I've created it for those people, and they were so happy with the results that they got when I shared what I do with them, that I've put it together into this course where it's down, you can download it, and there's short videos where I show everything. And so I'm very excited about that.
That is awesome. That is really, really cool. I think that it's great to have as many tools in our tool belt as we can that empower us with our own health. You know, so many times we feel like, you know, our health is in the hands of other practitioners or professionals, and it's really, really great to be able to have something that you can do on your own. So I love that, and I would love to do it myself and share it with everyone. So I will link to your website, even though it's not finished yet, which is just your name, Eva Gosssenreiter. Hopefully I said that right. Yeah, so Eva, thank you so much for coming here today and sharing your story with us, because low energy is really, like you said, really prevalent around the world. It's a worldwide problem, and I know so many could use help with that. So it was really wonderful hearing your story about how muscle testing and kinesiology has helped you with that.
Well, thank you so much, Mandy, for the work that you do, and I would be happy if anybody has questions to answer them. And thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. And everyone, I will put, like I said, Eva's website on the blog post so you can reach her. Thank you for joining me.